If you start early, the fortune belongs to you. If you start early. All fortunes that are available to humans, if you start early, the promise looms large and the odds are heavy in your favor. Now, yes, it's possible to do some radical things starting late and still arrive with some good treasures and some good things. But when you haven't got that much time left, now sometimes the decision has to be so drastic people are not willing to make it, and they're too tired, or too weary, and too ill. Say, look, I don't have much time left. It's not going to happen for me anyway. It's easy to take that attitude. But everyone here, we've got the time over the next 10 years. We've got the time the next 20 years. We've got the time the next 30 years to make some repair now in our errors of the past and set up some new disciplines. And I'm telling you, that's going to change everything. So, 5 years from now, I wish for you to arrive at a well-designed place. A place of productivity, a place that'll make you feel good about yourself, a place that'll give you honor and respect, a place that'll give you influence to touch other people 5 years from now that you couldn't do today. Where will you be in 5 years? Key phrase, we go the direction we face. We go the direction we face. If you start designing something at the end of this direction, sure enough, you will start going the direction you face. Next phrase, direction determines destination. Destination is not determined by hope. It's not determined by wish. Destination is determined by direction. You cannot change destination overnight. You cannot change destination overnight, which means you can't arrive at a 5 years from now place tomorrow. But here's what you can change today and overnight. You can change direction. And it is so fascinating what a little small change of direction will do. A few decisions in discipline, a few decisions in learning, a few decisions in change of behavior, change of habit, a few decisions in setting goals that you've sort of let drift before. Like I did at age 25, didn't have a list. I immediately started to change that. And I immediately started to change my direction. In less than 7 years, I was a millionaire. And that was just my economics. But I am so thankful for the circumstances and whatever else arranged it for me. Some things are arranged, we don't even know how they've occurred. For you to be here, do you imagine the chain of circumstances that caused you to be able to sit in this auditorium today? It's amazing. This had to happen, and this had to happen, and this door had to close, and this door had to open. And all of those things, for me to be here, for you to be here, I just didn't drop out of the sky, right? And you arrived here from all kinds of directions. Here we are. And so we just say, wow, part of that's a mystery, and we let it be a mystery. We don't even try to figure it out. We just say, wow, it's incredible. But now that we're here, how could we collectively and individually affect each other's lives? It's by doing just what we've done. Study, learn, teach, shake hands, trade stories, and do all this stuff. So that we can help other people as well as ourselves to make that small journey to a new direction. So jot that down. It's only a small journey to a new direction. The promise of the future is an awesome force. My mentor worked this on me. He said, Jim Rohn, if you keep up these disciplines and if you keep up these skills, keep increasing productivity, learn how to work with people, do the job well, do the activity, learn to teach. He said, I promise you, you're going to have a unique place. I promise you. He kept saying that. I promise you. Things will all change. I promise you. A bank full of money. I promise you a heart full of gratitude. I promise you a family with unusual respect. I promise you an audience that won't quit. And he just kept saying all of this stuff. I promise you. Take it from me. I've got the experience. I know. A person like you, your dedication. If you keep up this pace, the day will come. The day will come. And he painted this picture. I couldn't sleep nights the first day. Then I remember one day he said, one of these days you'll walk into a room full of people, and as you walk in the room, you'll hear someone say, that's him. That's the famous man. I thought, well, that could never happen to me. I was raised in obscurity, right? One of my first skills was milking cows. I mean, what's that got to do with walking in a room and have someone say, that's him, that's the man, the famous man? But sure enough, year by year, audience by audience, and book by book, as I traveled this journey, wow, that promise from this man started coming true. I just wish my mentor, Mr. Schoaf, was here to see this. Here's what he would say. I told you. Listen to what they're saying. I told you. Yeah, that's right. It's happening. Wow. I wonder how much further. I wonder how much more. That's a gift. Language that transports people into the future. So I'm asking you to do the same thing with your company, with your people that work for you, and especially your family, so that you can give them the promise of the future. They'll do extraordinary things if they can see. If they can't see, they'll take little steps. If they can see, they'll take giant steps. Help them to see themselves better than they are. Sometimes we have to help people see themselves as they are. If your child is messed up, you got to say, hey, John, you have messed up. But here's the next clue, parents. Don't leave them in the mess. So they've messed up. How quickly could they turn it around? Almost overnight. What could be the promise of the future if they started walking a new road? Absolutely colossal and unbelievable. So we quickly go from saying, yes, you've messed up, no doubt about that. But here's how quickly you can recover. Here's how quickly you can multiply the future in a positive way versus the negative way that brought you to this poor place. See, the gift of language can do the most incredible things with a human being. Rescue them from oblivion, send them into the future with a picture of the promise, the possibilities. Don't be lazy in exercising these gifts. Someone say, well, how good do we need to be at it? As good as you possibly can. Someone says, well, this is only a child. What a better place to start. Correcting a few errors and building the promise of the future. We can't say it's only a child. This could be the next superstar. This could be the next person of high productivity that starts enterprises that employs millions. This next child, this child, properly corrected, properly inspired. Here's what happens when you start a new direction. Self-esteem starts to accelerate. It doesn't take much for you to feel good about yourself. Just committed to a new direction and you feel good. And an apple a day, committed to finally having a health program that'll make you the healthiest you've ever been in the next 20 years, all you got to do is munch on that first apple. And nobody even has to be around you, and you don't have to announce it to the world. But you munch on that first apple and say, this is the beginning of developing a health program that's going to make me so healthy I'll have the vitality to do whatever I want to do for the next 30 years of my life. Now, if you eat an apple the second day, you become almost delirious, saying, wow, I'm on my way. Somebody said, just 2 apples? Says, look, you don't understand. Not only did I do it yesterday, I've done it again today. This is really proving to myself with no audience, no microphones, no nothing, just you and yourself. You've convinced yourself, I'm on my way to the healthiest I ever have been. I'm starting a new life. This is the second day. That's how easy it is to change your life. You don't need some dramatic vision. Just begin something. And maybe by health or by whatever other things we can think of to do, you just get back on a better track. One of the major things Schoaf taught me when I met him, he said, poor thinking habits keeps most people poor. Not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. And Schoaf taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. And that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. He quoted me a Bible phrase that says, as you think, so you become. How awesome. When he talked about poor thinking habits, he had me. I used to start the day reading the morning newspaper. I mean, you can believe that or not. I'd get a cup of coffee and read the paper. I'd load up on wars and riots and murders and stabbings and killings and bank robberies and muggings and car wrecks and tragedies. I'd even read the back pages. I seem to like that stuff for some weird reason. I'd load up on all that, and then I'd start the day. You can imagine the kind of days I used to have. The guy says, I want to be a great leader. Wonderful. The first thing we do is follow him to his house. When we get there, we walk in and check his library, number one. Somebody says, well, why check his library? The reason is because what a man reads pours massive ingredients into his mental factory, and the fabric of his life is built from those ingredients. You would not believe what some people have got in their house to read. You would not believe. One of the best dressed up words I know for a lot of it is trash. Can you imagine dumping a barrel of trash into this mental factory every day and coming out with a rich, dynamic, positive life? It can't be done. You might as well try making a cake with cement. The kids back in Danbury, Connecticut, high school, they're asking me questions one day. I'm talking to the kids. Kids got good questions these days. One of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, how do you build the good life? I said, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Here's how you build anything. Select the right ingredients, keep out the wrong ingredients, and it starts with thought. Everything starts with thought. So you must be wise and careful what you think about, because that starts everything. You got to be wise and careful. I asked the kids, what would happen if somebody dropped sugar in my coffee? They said, well, you'd be okay. I said, what if somebody dropped strychnine in my coffee? They said, well, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson 1. Life is both sugar and strychnine. You gotta be careful. I said, what if my worst enemy drops in the sugar? They said, will you be okay? I said, what if my best friend, even by accident, drops in the strychnine? They said, well, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson 2, watch your coffee. You gotta be careful. See, it doesn't matter who hands you the bad stuff. It doesn't matter where you get the bad stuff. It'll still do its damage on your bank account. Wherever you get it. Mr. Schoaf gave me one of the greatest phrases when I first met him when he said, Jim, every day stand guard at the door of your mind. How important. Stand guard at the door of your mind. And you decide what goes into your mental factory. Don't let anybody just dump anything they want to in your mental factory, because you've got to live with the result. Philosophy is simply what you know. Now, to correct a couple of old cliches, what you don't know will hurt you. And to correct another one, ignorance is not bliss. Boy, it's so important to have the correct philosophy. It's so important to know. Philosophy sets the course of your life. Philosophy is simply what you know. So it's important to know. I'm telling the kids these days, make sure you get the information while you're here. I'm talking to the Newport Harbor high school kids in some lectures last year and this year. And my encouragement is, make sure you get all the information while you're here. I know it's laborious. I know it isn't easy to read the books and take the classes and try to get good grades. But hey, while you're here, gather it all up. The book you miss will make a difference. Right? The information you don't get will make a difference in the legacy of your equities over the next few months, the next few years. So philosophy, this is where it all begins. Now, I've divided philosophy into 3 parts. One is basic, starting out philosophy. The baby starts processing information right away. Cold is bad, warm is good, hungry is awful, food is terrific. The baby starts reacting and processing information and having certain reactions to it. So our philosophy starts early, gathering information and reacting to it. Next is expanded philosophy. At least enough philosophy to be gainfully employed and offer a value to society and find your place in the marketplace. You know, be a reasonable, decent human being. Expanded philosophy. But now how do you become wealthy and powerful and sophisticated, influential and unique? Simple word, refined philosophy. The refinement of philosophy. The extra studies and the extra books and the extra classes and the extra thinking, the extra pondering, the extra give and take, of testing ideas and debate and discussion. That's where the extra life comes from, is in the dimensions of refined philosophy, the extra thinking. And these are the steps of intellectual discovery that a lot of people just don't want to take, or they're too busy to take it, or it presents itself in too strong and tough a manner, these extra skills. But I'm telling you, once you start engaging in these extra skills, you won't ever want to go back. This new intellectual discovery is where the wealth is. It's where the happiness is, the good life, influence, power. Refinement of philosophy. Now, our philosophy comes from a lot of places. Let me give it to you. Number one, from teaching, the influence of others, from the books we read, from the classes we take. And you might underline the word influence. This is where a big share of our philosophy comes from, influence. In another series, we asked 3 major questions. Who am I around? That's called big questions. Some questions are little and some are big. This is a big one. Who am I around? Question number 2, what are they doing to me? This is called major. This is called big. Where have they got me going? What have they got me reading? What have they got me thinking? What have they got me saying? And the big biggie, what have they got me becoming? Influence plays a major role in the development of our philosophy. How we think, how we speak, the formulation of ideas, the things we weigh concerning values. All of this is so important. What we know, the mind, thinking, processing ideas and information. Ideas are simply information taking form. Now, we do something very important with what we know. We weigh it. We put it on our mental scales and we weigh it. And I don't know, we may give it a number from 1 to 10. Probably not consciously. But if we hear something and we come into possession of some information and we give it a 10, we'll probably act on it right away. If we give it a 1, we'll probably let it slide. If it's important, we'll do something about it. If we don't think it's important, we'll probably let it go. But it's so important to evaluate. A key word we learn in leadership skill training, perception. Trying to find value in something. Where is the value? How valuable is it? How important is it? Is there something here that I can't see at first glance? Is there something below the surface? Is there something in the inner workings of it? What goes behind it? What goes beyond it? What is its origin? All of these questions that help us come to the perception of value, ideas, evaluating information. Now here's what's important, to have a good set of mental scales. What if in processing information your mental scales were off? And you weighed everything a little wrong? Do you think that would affect your life? The answer is, of course. And all you got to be is a little off for 10 years. And you can imagine what the difference is. I got a key phrase for you. Life accumulates. We either accumulate the debt or the value. We either accumulate the regret or we accumulate the equity. Now, we must all suffer one of 2 pains. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And I'm suggesting discipline. Mental discipline to refine ideas. Of course it's laborious and of course it's a push, but it's called small price to pay so that you won't have the regret later on. Regret weighs tons. Discipline weighs ounces. So if you accept the early ounces of discipline of thought to refine ideas and not just let major questions go by, what about society? What about the government? What about taxes? What about religion? What about life? What about capital? What about business? What about society? All of these major questions. What about my life and my value and my place and my future? And what about life? What about origin? What about destiny? What about opportunity? What about possibility? All of these major questions, to let them go casually by is to miss the treasures that your life could accumulate into in the coming months, the coming years. So this is called major. What we ponder and what we think about sets the course of our life. It's like the set of the sail that's taking us somewhere. There's a lot of things that can wreck your chances to do well. We live in a rather dangerous world, so you got to be not only wise, you got to be careful. Now, attitude diseases are just as bad as physical diseases, right? High blood pressure, heart trouble. I mean, a lot of things lace your chances to do well. So you've got to be careful. And attitude diseases are deadly. I mean, they'll destroy all the good things you start. These attitude diseases
are like weeds that grow in the garden. It's a normal part of life. Here's a good phrase to note. Negative is normal. It's not successful, but it's normal. It's part of life. And here's the next key, in my opinion. You must learn to handle the negative. Don't ignore it. Handle it. Now, I know some people teach the other way. And listen to them. And listen to me. And then make up your own mind. Right? Don't be a follower. Be a student. But I say you got to handle the negative. You don't have to live in it. You don't have to dwell on it. But you do have to handle it. My opinion. Here's what part of it is. It's called the Great War between good and evil. And there is a war on. The minute you were born, you got involved in the war between good and evil, between darkness and light, between negative and positive, between evil and good, between tyranny and democracy, between weeds and human activity. I mean, the war is on. If democracy sleeps, guess who never sleeps? Tyranny. In the absence of light, guess what's automatic? Darkness. If good does not arouse itself and become active, guess what moves in? Evil. It's a war. A mental war, a physical war, a financial war, between enterprise and ease, between accomplishment and failure. It's a war. That's why there's an Old Testament phrase that gives the best advice for human activity when it says, 6 days labor, 1 day rest. Now, I'm sure we've taken that to mean, don't work all 7 days. Take one off. Here's what it also means. Only take one off, or you're liable to lose the war. Now, we've got it down to 5 and 2. And maybe that's not too dangerous. I don't know. If God would have thought of 5 and 2, he might have made it 5 and 2. I don't know. But here's what it does mean. Enterprise is better than ease. If you rest too long, the jungle overtakes the village. Now, here's the good news about the war between good and evil. Evil is no match for good, but good must be active. Weeds are no match for human activity, but if you stand still, how far in will they come? All the way. They'll grow right up around your shoes. But if you get busy, how far back can you take them? As far as you wish. They're no match, but you must be active. That's why the 6 and 1. Make sure you're not losing the war by taking off too much. Work on your personal philosophy. Your personal philosophy is like a guidance system. And your guidance system only does 2 things. 1, helps you to see the dangers over here so you don't build on the sand. Now, your guidance system also helps you to find the opportunities over here. And this is what the drama of life is all about. Danger riding side by side with opportunity. Los Angeles, a place for the most extraordinary opportunity probably in the world, side by side with danger. If you're a pedestrian and the light turns green, you better not walk for a second or two. To what? Save your life. Danger and opportunity. Learning to understand one so you can avoid it, how to cash in on the other. The guidance system must start early. And the temptation is always there. When I was a little kid growing up, I saw this cartoon of a little boy with a little devil on one shoulder and a little angel on the other shoulder, both whispering in his ear. What is that? It's called high drama. Every day of our life we are tempted. Sometimes it could be fatal in a moment. Here's a father who loves his family. He's a respected citizen. He's got a thriving business, but he's late for an appointment. And the light turns red and the voice says, go, you can make it this time. Go. And now he's dead. This is not a bad man. This is a careless man. So everybody's guidance system has got to be alert and working. Whether it's a moral question, ethical question, all the rest. That's why the great prayer says, lead us around temptation. This is part of the great drama. The spoiler and the creator. Why this drama? Because it's the only way to create a human drama. Here's what it seems like. Opposites are in conflict and we are in the middle. Whether it's in business, whether it's home, friendship, health, no matter what it is. It's the drama. In your bloodstream, there are red corpuscles to nourish and give life like a mother.
and white corpuscles to fight like a father. And you got to have both. White corpuscles say, just show me some infection, I'll kill it. Because if I don't kill it, what? It kills you. Somebody's going to get killed today. So the war is going on. Friendly bacteria and unfriendly bacteria. But what if you picked up a book and the first chapter said, everything's fine. Second chapter, everything is just fine. Fourth chapter, everything's fine. Would you finish the book? First chapter, the war is on. Let me read the second chapter and the third chapter. Let me give you the last illustration. Would it be possible to win if you couldn't lose? What if you put a football under your arm and we all went with you to the nearest football stadium and you crossed the goal line? Would we cheer and call it a touchdown? It's not a touchdown until you face the 300-pounders. And all we have to do now is figure out in our business, social, personal, daily life how to multiply all life systems by following a few simple guidelines. One is understanding, first of all, philosophy being like the set of the sail on a sailboat. The wind is always blowing, but to get to your dreams and the things you want for yourself and for your family and the money and all the rest, you don't have to curse the wind. All you have to do is set a better sail. You will get so good at setting sail that no matter what winds blow, it still takes you toward your destination.
Here's the next one. Decision. And decision making is powerful. And it's emotional. That's those knots in the pit of your stomach, right? Waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, trying to decide. We sometimes call it inner civil war. What shall I do? Well, for progress, you must decide. The best advice I can give you came from a wealthy friend of mine who said, if it's easy, do it easy. If it's hard, do it hard. Just get it done. If you went home tonight and in the next few days cleaned up a whole list of decisions, that might furnish enough inspiration for the next 10 years. I found this out many times after you've decided. Getting on with it is easier than deciding. Sometimes decision is the toughest one. Here's the next emotion, desire, wanting to bad enough. And I don't know how to tell you to want to. That's something you've got to come up with. There's two things I know about desire. Number one, it comes from inside, not outside. You don't send off for it. Number two, I know desire can be triggered by something. Who knows what it might be? Sometimes desire waits and sleeps for something to happen. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's a sermon. Maybe it's a lecture, a seminar. Maybe it's the conversation of a friend, a happening, an event. Who knows? The best advice I can give you is what I give my staff. It goes like this. Welcome every human experience. You never know which one is going to turn it all on. Even the bad experience. Sometimes from the bitterest experience comes the greatest awakening. So let down the barriers, take down the walls. The same wall that keeps out disappointment keeps out happiness. Let life touch you. Don't let it kill you, but let it touch you.